Why couldn't Eugene Onegin and Tatiana Larina be together? Who is Eugene Onegin? Pushkin calls him a young scapegrace. A scapegrace is a person who lives in idleness, a frivolous person. What is he interested in? He knows about everything, but this knowledge is superficial. All of us had a bit of schooling, in something and somehow. Hence, in our midst, it is not hard. Thank God to flaunt one's education. Onegin was, in the opinion of many, judges resolute and stern, a learned fellow but a pedant. He had the happy talent, without constraint, in conversation slightly to touch on everything, keep silent with an expert learned air during a grave discussion, and provoke the smiles of ladies with the fire of unexpected epigrams. But all his knowledge makes him feel bored. Most of all, he has a fancy for the art of soft passion. Pushkin uses about 30 verbs that describe Eugene's skill to court a woman. We can say that Onegin is a skillful ladies' man. He also pays great attention to his appearance. One can be an efficient man and mind the beauty of one's nails. Why vainly argue with the age? Custom is a despot among men. My Eugene, a second Chadaev, being afraid of jealous censures, was in his dress a pedant, and what we've called a fop. 3 hours at least he spent in front of glasses, and from his dressing room came forth akin to giddy Venus when, having donned a masculine attire, the goddess drives to a masked ball. You have to hand it to him. He is able to value beauty and has an excellent taste. After all, he could value Tatiana's exquisite and soft beauty. What does she say about her beauty and the beauty of her sister Olga? Tell me, which was Tatiana? Oh, she the one who sat and silent like Svetlana, came in and sat down by the window. Can it be it's the younger one that you're in love with? Why not? I'd have chosen the other had I been like you, a poet. In Olga's features there's no life, just as in Van Dyck Madonna. She's round and fair of face, as is that silly moon up in that silly sky. Tatiana and Onegin are two quite different people. He is a typical snob who's excited by glamour, wealth, high public status. What does he usually do? He reads books, he drinks champagne, he goes to the theaters, he visits balls, he has an affair with actresses and married women. What kind of life is it? It is an idle and vacant life. Is it a worthy life for a man? No, it isn't. Tatiana wouldn't have fallen in love with him if she had known him better. But maybe Onegin would still excite her somehow, because she was a bit spoiled by French novels of that time. With what attention does she now read some delicious novel? With what vivid enchantment imbibe the ravishing illusion? Why did she fall in love with Onegin? As Pushkin puts it, the time had come, she fell in love. Everything coincided, the readiness of her body and soul, the limited number of local would-be grooms. If there hadn't been Onegin, she would have fallen in love with any other guy. She would have fallen in love with Vladimir Lensky if he hadn't been in love with her sister, Olga. Tatiana got the notion about love only from her favorite French novels of that time. And those novels were inhabited by unnatural male characters who had an unnatural mixture of unnatural features. Tatiana created her own Onegin that didn't have anything to do with the real one. In general, Tatiana is a very sensitive person. She sees phantasmagoric dreams. Read the description of her frightening and prophetic dream in chapter 5. She perceives the world around her keenly. She peers into everything attentively. She seeks for a great depth of meaning in everything. She is interested in everything, people, the events of the past, present, and future. She loves nature. When Onegin left the village, she visited his family estate, to understand through his things and his books his personality. At that moment, she began to doubt. Might he not be in fact a parody? Besides, she says, he cannot give me happiness. After getting her love letter, in which Tatiana declared her love, Onegin could find it in his heart not to accept her love. Well done? Perhaps he didn't do that because her love, the love of a provincial girl, didn't play up to his vanity. He fell in love with Tatiana later, only when she was a social success. When he realized that the high society loved her, appreciated her, respected her. Her social success sent him a message. Now you can love her. She is worth loving. Eugene Onegin is tied to the high society. Onegin is a slave of this high society. For example, before the duel with Lenski, he was in a doubt. He wanted to make his peace with Lenski, but then he changed his mind. Onegin was afraid that their mediator, a well-known duelist, could gossip about him, that he changed his mind, and the high society would despise him for his cowardice. Why did that duel happen? Because Onegin is a person who can do a dirty trick. He did that trick on his friend Lenski. He was annoyed at Tatiana's sadness after he rejected her. He was annoyed at Lenski, at his romantic love for Olga. He decided to spite them. At the ball, he began courting Olga, despite the fact that she was the fiancée of Lenski. Olga was an easy target for his courtship. She was so self-centered and vain person. He not only insulted Vladimir Lenski, but he also insulted Tatiana, who had just declared her love for him. And he, who had offered him her moral description, then was courting her sister in such a shameless manner. But the cost of that dirty trick was too high, the death of Lenski. In contrast to Onegin, Tatiana is a woman of integrity. She is able to stand above the high society. That is the reason why they respect her, admire her. Those people of the high society, they feel her power and at the same time her love for those people, for the people of high society. They feel it subconsciously, and her power and love attract those people. Her high emotions and moral integrity still prevent Tatiana from realizing Onegin's personality, his real personality. Tatiana is at the edge of realizing that her love is an immature teenage feeling, just an illusion. Remember her phrase, might he not be in fact a parody? If Tatiana had got vanity, then even being a married woman, she would have an affair with Onegin. But her modesty, lack of vanity, prevent her from this. In fact, vanity is a strong factor in infidelity. What does she say about herself? But as to me, Onegin, this magnificence, a wearisome life's tinsel, my success in the world's vortex, my fashionable house and evenings, what do I care for them? At once I'd gladly give all the flippery of this masquerade, all this glitter and noise and fumes, for a shelfful of books, for a wild garden, for our poor dwelling, for those haunts where for the first time, Onegin, I saw you, and for the humble churchyard where there is a cross now and the shade of branches over my poor nurse. As Tatiana feels people and situations deeply, she realizes the source of Onegin's love. Then, is it not so? In the wilderness, far from vain hearsay, I was not to your liking. Why then now do you pursue me? Why have you marked me out? Might it not be because I must now move in the grand monde? Because I have both wealth and rank? Because my husband has been maimed in battles? Because for that the court is kind to us? Might it not be because my disrepute would be remarked by everybody now, and in society might bring you scandalous honor? Does she like her husband? Does she love her husband? When she met him for the first time, she said about him, "That fat general? He is a military man. He participated in battles. He is honored by society and the court. Does she respect him? Yes, she does. Does she feel romantic affection towards him, towards her husband? No, she doesn't. We'd rather call this feeling a feeling of honor, trust, and duty. Will she be able to be happy in her marriage?" Pushkin doesn't give the answer to this question, but the maturation and depth of Tatiana's personality gives us a chance to suppose that she knows the secret of happiness. She knows the secret of true happiness. And Pushkin knows it. He exclaims, "I do love so much, my dear Tatiana." She understood. Besides, as you may recall, Tatiana says to herself about Onegin directly, "He cannot give me happiness." She understood that even back then at the village when she was not married yet. Pushkin hits on Onegin's tender spot, the worship of rank, wealth, and glitter. Yet happiness had been so possible, so near. What is more, Eugene Onegin will never be able to bear the greatness of Tatiana's soul. That is why there is so much anguish and depression in his love. And not just because she is married, but because Onegin is inferior to Tatiana in spiritual terms, in human terms. That is how we can answer the question why Eugene Onegin and Tatiana Larina couldn't be together.